All right, all right, all right. You're listening to the We're Talking Football podcast. I'm Weston. With me, as always, my right hand man, Lou. Kiss the guns. Praise the Lord. Lou, let me be the very first to wish you and our audience a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Weston. I appreciate that. And same to you and your family, buddy.
I appreciate it. Make sure you give the missus and the little angel my love and the appreciation for letting you spare some time the night before a major holiday. But to bit,
Enough with the sappy shit now.
yeah,
Let's
let's
yeah.
get to it. Yeah, last year I think we spent a whole a segment on what we were thankful for, and we're still thankful for all those things, right? Like
Yes.
nothing's changed in that regard. But we are here to recap Week 11 of the 2022 NFL season. But I have a question for you, and I think this is the real question of the day. Tomorrow, Turkey Day. Do you enjoy Thanksgiving Day football?
Huh. Do I? I'm gonna say no. And let me tell you why. For the most part, they're bad games. If I am forced to watch the Lions, the Cowboys are always entertaining. Um, Last year I think it was Cowboys Raiders. That was a good game, right?
Yep.
But some of the matchups are just less to be desired. But this week, this year is a little different. I feel like I think the games are going to be a little more exciting.
I mean, I certainly hope so. I kind of agree with you, right? Like, you know what you're getting. You're getting the dose of the Lions, you're getting the dose of the Cowboys. It really depends on how the schedule lines up this year. Buffalo at Detroit, and considering Buffalo just played in Detroit, so this might even feel like a home game for them at
Hmm.
this point. I do think that middle slotted game, Cowboys Giants, has some appeal, at least from a record standpoint and positioning for playoffs in the NFC East. Don't know really how I feel about the night game, but the real reason why I ask is I think I'm a fan of like the early games, right? Like I like this concept of a 12:30 game. I like this
Hmm.
concept of a 4:30 game on the East Coast, but I hate the night game. Like I literally despise the night game, and it's partly because I'm probably like in a food coma, half in the bag from too much wine or whatever the beverage of choice is. Like candidly, like I just want to go to bed, but then like I feel forced that I have to watch football, right? And I don't want to at that point in time. But I also let me add the caveat here. I also think that I am scarred around this night game because my team has played in two of those essentially over the last 10 years. The only two times I can ever remember my team, the San Francisco 49ers, playing on Thanksgiving Day. And both of those are losses, right? So you have the Harbaugh Bowl when both Baltimore and the 49ers were rolling, and John Harbaugh and the Ravens got that W. And then I have to remember the 2013 debacle, which, true story, on this day, my dog ran away. And I legitimately spent 13 hours during the day trying to find my dog.
Jesus.
Gave up at dinner time and basically was like, all right, I watched Thanksgiving football by myself because I was looking for the dog and everybody else in the family was out elsewhere. My wife, bless her, she was not my wife at that point. We were not married. That's how long ago this was. Brought me dinner from her family's house because I did not eat dinner and I was by myself, and then proceeded to watch the 49ers lose to the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, specifically the Legion of Boom, eating turkey at the 50-yard line of the 49ers field
Wow.
during this game. So disappointed. Eventually went outside, and this is when I was still a cigarette smoker. Went outside, was smoking a cigarette by myself again, mind you, 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, to my dog just prancing down the street by itself and walking right up to me like it hadn't been gone for the previous 14 hours.
Oh man, that's a freaking story. What I like to do for these games though, Weston, is this. I, along with some other of our Howell buddies, we have a turkey bowl. So basically, we do a draft. There's six of us, and pretty much you just pick for all the players that are playing. And it's one quarterback, one running back, one wide receiver, one flex, one tight end, one kicker, one defense, and winner takes all. And you just go a traditional snake draft, and that makes it a little more exciting. So that's how I think that as the excitement, even if the games are pretty shitty.
Well, now that you mention it, at least on Thursdays, Thanksgiving Thursday, you know, you have 6 versus 2 teams playing, so at least it's a little bit more of an active day from even a
Oh yeah.
fantasy football perspective, and increases the likelihood that you have some players running that day. But I'm just always curious, right? Because everybody's like, football, 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 and I'm like, nah, like Sunday is a holiday. Every Sunday during football season is a holiday in my house. I don't need Thanksgiving to like as an excuse to watch football.
I mean, yeah, the football's always on in the background, but like, how much can you really pay attention? Because it's one of two things: either A, you're paying attention and you're being a prick to everyone else around you, or B, you're not paying attention and you're talking to people about, politics, religion, and all that fun stuff. So,
Yeah.
pick your poison. So it's semi enjoyable, but you really can't just sit there from 12:30 to 10 at night and enjoy it. You have to basically balance between being a family person and also and a fanatic.
Well, I'm a fanatic first, unfortunately. What's funny, dude, is I can recall. So back when in my younger days, I have an uncle that is married into my mom's side of the family, and this is the older of the siblings on my mom's side. And we used to alternate holidays, like the Christmases and the Thanksgivings, between the aunts and uncles on my mom's side, like who we would go, whose house we would go, etc. And then all the other, because my mom has all sisters, one brother who's like the oldest, but all rest sisters. So all the other brother-in-laws essentially would veto going to this one uncle's house because he refused to let people watch TV at his house during Thanksgiving and watch Thanksgiving football.
Ooh.
And all the other brother-in-laws are basically like, yeah, so we're just not going to go there anymore,
Yeah, no,
right? Like,
I feel like even
we're
people
going
who
to skip
don't, yeah,
their turn in their rotation.
yeah,
Um,
people who enjoy football know that.
it's just gotta, at the very least on Thanksgiving, it's gotta be on in the background, dude.
Yeah,
You have
that's.
somebody at your house that is interested in that game, it's gotta be on in the background.
I agree. I'm with you.
Dude, I host Christmas Eve at my house. That's like a big deal at my house. And Christmas Eve this year is essentially a football Sunday,
Hmm.
right? Like, so I got people coming and going, and I got to make sure the right games are on the right televisions in the house at the right time to accommodate everybody's interest, which I'm all about, right? I already told my family you won't see me from 4 o'clock on because the 49ers have a game. But like, hey, you got to prioritize. Lou, before we get lost in this evening's business, opportune time to remind our listeners that tonight's episode is brought to you by Primetime Sports Talk, your top source for all major sports content, including DFS, fantasy advice, and great betting tips. Be sure to head to primetimesportstalk.com to check out their in-depth analysis, exclusive content, fascinating interviews, and explore the rest of their amazing podcast family. Again, primetimesportstalk.com, your go-to for sports content. And while we're on the subject, Lou, where can we be found?
You can find us on Twitter. It's still around Twitter, so people, you can still find us on WTF Pod NFL and Instagram. The same thing, WTF Pod NFL.
Yeah,
And
and
Weston, as always, on YouTube.
We're talking football. Very simple, very easy. Like, subscribe. And for the listeners, if Twitter ever does just shut down overnight, we will find the next most popular social media outlet, and you will find us at there. We will prioritize that. So, Lou, we've been getting. Let me back up a little bit here. We have been beginning with our hot topics subject matter for the last several weeks. Tonight,
I've been enjoying
no
it.
different. Yeah, I mean, listen, let's just get on a little bit of a rant and head right into, our hometown takes and rap about our team for a few moments. So, if you don't mind, Lou, I'd love to take the pleasure of teeing you off, and forgive me because I have this on my phone how I want to phrase this to you, but I'm gonna lead in with a question to you. You open to that?
No.
Okay, cool. Then I'll just ask the question. I'll just go fuck myself.
Please, before you do that, can you shut your camera off?
Yeah, I'll just put on blurred background.
We need a blur foreground.
Foreground. You're not going to see anything anyway. Don't give me too much credit. I'm
Okay.
all right. Before we go on a totally different tangent from delirium, Lou, a very particular person volunteered this, but I don't think he's the only one. And I'll kind of bring this to fruition for you. But Emmanuel Ocho recently, among a number of hot takes that this gentleman has, former NFL player, I get it, right? Lends himself to some credibility. He recently coined Justin Herbert as the social media quarterback. So what does that mean? To me, that means that he is, in the eyes of this individual and some other talking heads, he is praised too highly, and he's not scrutinized highly enough. So my question to you is, do you feel like that is accurate? And then according to Emmanuel Ocho's words, is Justin Herbert a social media quarterback that just kind of flies under the radar and is only celebrated when the good happens?
First and foremost, I will make a disclosure. I am a Los Angeles Chargers fan. I also am a Justin Herbert fan. That being said, correct me
but you're not a homer.
Thank you.
You're not a homer.
I didn't believe into. I mean, I was still skeptical until year 2. I wanted to see Justin Herbert repeat his freshman performance with the Chargers, so I still was protecting my heart. Wasn't I was very cautious in the fandom of Justin Herbert because as a fan, if you do get overly attached to these players and then they fizzle out, i.e. Robert Griffin, i.e. Carson Wentz, it's a letdown. So I was protecting my heart. So I am not a homer when it comes to Los Angeles Chargers or Justin Herbert. So let's back up here. So let's talk about Emmanuel Ocho. All right. If people don't know who he is, he's on Fox's Speak for Yourself. And some of his best takes, as an analyst, include Baker Mayfield should get just as much money as Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. The Cowboys should not have released Jalen Smith because it's going to put too much stress on Micah Parsons, and Micah Parsons is going to struggle. And the one we're kind of alluding to right now, pre-draft, that Justin Herbert will be the biggest mistake in the NFL draft. And that's where this all started, right? So yeah, I'm gonna repeat what you said. His latest take is Justin Herbert is nothing but a social media quarterback. You were alluding to the fact that people just love throwing his flashy throws, his big plays and explosion plays on Instagram and Twitter, and pretty much they don't show the entire story. How he's a bad quarterback, he has bad decision making, and how Emmanuel Ocho likes to prove his point. How Justin Herbert is not good is usually by comparing him to Tua. All right. This is eerily familiar of Eli, Big Ben, and Phillip Rivers saga all over again. But he was saying that if Tua threw the interception that Justin Herbert threw at the end of the Chiefs game, he would have got killed, when people really just ignore Justin Herbert when he does things like that. Ocho has been hating on Justin Herbert even before the draft, and he's really doubling down on this awful take, if you're asking my opinion. He often, like I said, compares Herbert to Tua, and he claims Tua is a better quarterback. And he's a better quarterback for these reasons. Listen to this now, Weston. He says Tua has a better winning percentage than Justin Herbert. Can't argue there. Now, I'm not one of those guys that are going to say, me how I feel about records. It's not QB stat. If it is, then I'm going to tell you right now, Zach Wilson is a phenomenal quarterback because he's 5-2, and he's playing better than Brady then, because his record this year is better than Tom Brady. So I'm not a team's record as a quarterback stat type of guy. But hey, that people argue with that. If you're not a winner, you're not a winner. All right. Tua has had 6 passing touchdowns where Justin Herbert is not. Tua's had a 400-yard passing game. Herbert doesn't. Tua's 4-0 against Bill Belichick. Herbert is 0-2. What kind of cherry picking ass shit and stats are these? How does these stats, these aforementioned stats, determine if one player is better than the other? A wise man once told me, don't argue with fools, because from a distance, they can't tell who from who. Who's that wise man, Weston? Come on.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z. Hove, right? But I'm
not
sorry.
Bad. I'll tell a wise man. All right.
Yeah, right. So listen, being that I got to do this, man. It kills me, but I have to kind of go down this deep, dark road of Tua versus Herbert to kind of shut Emmanuel Ocho up, right? And it's a shame that I got to do this because, Weston, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Have I not been a Tua praiser since the draft process?
You have.
All right. And you've mocked me for that for 2 years.
Correct. I have.
Okay.
Still mocking you for that.
So, yes, full disclosure. But, and it's a shame that in order to prove that one quarterback's good, you got to put down another quarterback. It's awful. But I'm going to get down in the muck right now. I'm going to get down and dirty with Emmanuel Ocho. And since he doesn't like looking at film, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter, how about we just focus on the numbers, right? Weston, what's the best ability?
Availability.
Availability is the best ability, all right? So this is me impersonating Emmanuel Ocho. He wants to pull up cockamamie, stats to prove that Tua is better than Herbert. This is what I'm going to do. The best ability is availability. And Justin Herbert has played every game where Tua has never played a full season, all right, because of his injury history, whether it's concussions, hip, back, whatever you name it. He has a multitude of injuries that has not let him play a full season in 3 years, but Justin Herbert has not missed one. Now let's look at the career comparisons. Herbert has had more completions, attempts, yards, touchdowns, yards per game than Tua. All right. But that's not fair because if you really look at it, Herbert has played more games than Tua. All right. Acho has questioned Herbert's decision making. But if you're questioning Herbert's decision making, then how does Herbert having a higher touchdown percentage while having an identical interception percentage, how does that hold true then? Meaning he averages more touchdowns per throw and the same amount of interceptions per throw as Tua. So he said Herbert's decision making is a C plus, where Tua's is an A plus. But the numbers are just not adding up here. All right, so don't look at the career comparisons, right? Because that's maybe not fair. Because of pretty much of Herbert's played more games, he's had more stats, and and all that. So let's look at this season, all right? So let's just focus on this season. Amongst the 3 quarterbacks drafted in this draft class, Herbert by far has the most completion and attempts. You know what that's telling me? His team relies on him more to stay in games than Tua and Joe Burrow, all right? Because they absolutely have nothing around him because of injuries, right? And yes, Tua's having an MVP season. Let's not deny that. His numbers are fantastic. And I'm not going to get into the injury history with the Chargers. I'm not going to talk about their all-pro left tackle being hurt. I'm not going to talk about them losing 4 of their top 5 receivers for a multitude of games, right? I'm not going to go down that road, right? And I even won't be petty and say if Tua didn't have his weapons, let's see how that would affect his play. All right. I'm not going to get down because this is what Ocho would do, right? Or Acho, whatever the hell his name is. That's what he would do. We already know what would happen if you took Tyreek Hill away from Tua. We've seen it before. All right. We've seen all that, right? But Herbert isn't a winner. That's where he's losing me. Okay, so that Acho is basically saying that Herbert's not a winner. Then why does Herbert have the 4th most? Why does he have the most fourth quarter comebacks right now this season? Why amongst all those 3 quarterbacks that we just talked about, and he has the most game-winning drives in his career. All right, why?
Because he's a better quarterback.
Since he's entered this league, Herbert is 3rd in the NFL in game-winning drives with 11. That's more than Mahomes. How is Herbert not a game winner? How does he make bad decisions if the stats are showing me otherwise?
Dude, this is
someone marrying their take, and
this is just clickbait 101 with a ton of recency bias to it. I'm going to dispel that. If you don't mind, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to dispel this in like a single second, right? Do I think Emmanuel Acho is wrong, and anybody else, we're just using his name, but anybody else that might have this take that is wrong, that it might feel like at this moment in time, because I don't think he's wrong, right? Like pundits would rip Tua apart in that scenario.
Hold on. I got to interrupt you there. You want to know why pundits have ripped Tua in the past? Do you want to know why? Maybe the fact that Tua sucked when he went in with the Miami Dolphins, right? And when they pulled him, what happened? They replaced him with Ryan Fitzpatrick, right?
And
And
won football games.
what did Ryan Fitzpatrick do when
Win
he
football
replayed?
games.
He played with the same cast members as Tua, right?
Yep.
All right, same
Yep.
guys, don't do the same guys, same offensive line. What did Ryan? He won football games. Not only that, statistically, Ryan Fitzpatrick was a top 12 quarterback.
And Tua was not.
This is why people were killing Tua. It's not because he was playing bad, right? It's the fact that a journeyman came in, same scenario, utterly had way better, more success than Tua.
Yep.
All right.
You're right.
That is the only reason why people killed Tua is because he was a first round pick and he was getting outplayed, by a journeyman.
Yep. Listen, and you're leading me to my point, right? Like you're taking me to the water. I'm going to drink it. It's that simple. The truth and the reality is like, you want to know why Herbert might get a pass in that scenario? It's because of his body of work leading into it leaves zero doubt. Right? Do you want to know why Tua would get sacrificed or even Jalen Hurts would get sacrificed? Is because they struggled mightily in their first 2 years in this league, that if they showed a struggle trait again, people are going to be like, look, it's continuity, it's continuing. Where with like we can argue right now that, yeah, Justin Herbert's having a quote unquote down year in comparison to his first 2 years. But in his first 2 years in the league, people, all pundits, all talking heads will tell you this guy's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. In his first 2 years in the league, that was never once, ever once uttered about Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Hurts. This year, they just so happen to be playing very, very well.
What changed around them, Weston?
The team, dude. The team.
What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate?
I can. In Tua's case, the offense got better. A new play caller, more playmakers, etc. In Jalen Hurts' case, another playmaker added. A better defense that gives them more opportunity to be in positions to make plays.
Hold on, wow, this is not premeditated. Yeah, let's talk about defense, right? Let's talk about defense because Herbert isn't a winner, right? So over his first 3 years when he's been in the league, the Chargers defense is ranked 23rd, 29th, and 29th. Herbert has to play hero ball, and he cannot do it all by himself. So if your defense is always ranked towards the bottom and you're a 500 quarterback, you picture if you had a middling defense, like a top 15 to 20 defense, what his quarterback record would do, right? And the Chargers defense, to even piggyback on that more, they actually lead in the last 3 years. They lead the NFL with 9 fourth blown quarter leads. All right. So I don't know how this is all on Herbert. It's just if you watch the game, you can realize he's balling out, but his defense is absolutely doing no favors to him.
Dude, it's a hot take to be a hot take. That's not an accurate hot take. And it has, like I said, I hate to use this term all the time, but I think this is what the NFL and most sports have become. It's just got recency bias written all over it. The moral of this story is, if there is any leeway or gratitude provided for Justin Herbert and forgiving mistakes, it's because he's earned it, right? It's literally because he's earned it. It's not just somebody being like, we like the guy, we let it pass. Yeah, we like the guy because he's got all the traits in the world, and we've seen it, and we've seen him light up the board statistically, and we've seen him have tremendous amounts of success from a production perspective, where this is our first glimmer of Jalen Hurts or Tua, the people in his draft class, right, that you would compare him to, essentially having that level of success in any capacity. Dude, how many people, like, again, I told you out of the gate that for me, Tua doesn't scratch the itch. Just doesn't pass the sniff test for me.
I disagreed with you.
You did. But you know what? In his first two his first 2 seasons under center in some capacity, I was looking pretty smart. And by the end of those 2 seasons, a lot of the talking heads were saying the same shit that I said 2 years in advance. That's right, dude. I literally called for the Miami Dolphins to draft a quarterback the year after they drafted Tua Tagovailoa. Did I not? Yes. In our draft show, I said, hey, you got a lot of draft picks. This isn't a bad move to have a bunch of rookie quarterbacks under rookie contracts and let the best man win. Now, right now, through 11 weeks of the season or 10 weeks that they've played, like, yeah, Tua's played good ball. You know what I mean? Has he shown me that he's going to go and, like, when the chips are on the line, beat up on a Josh Allen or beat up on a Patrick Mahomes or
He did
run
beat
when
up
I
on
say the
Josh
chips
Allen.
on no. When the chips are on the line, dude. When the chips are on the line. Totally different ball game. Totally different ball game. Justin Herbert showed me that. Let me put it to you like this. If it's between Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, and Tua Tagovailoa, and I got one drive to go, it's number 7 all day long for me. All day long. Burrow doesn't wear number 7, right? What does he wear? 9? Yeah. So it's number 7 for me all day.
Didn't know where you're going with that. I'm like, John Elway?
Yeah. No,
but you know what? I've always say this, and this is one of my my sayings or my isms that I constantly bring to the show. I say history repeats itself. How eerily similar is this with Peyton Manning?
Oh.
Think
You
about
mean
it.
Eli?
No, I'm talking about Peyton. Peyton when
His start to his career.
Choking in the playoffs, can't beat the Patriots, can't play in cold weather. Was only had regular season success type stuff. Very similar to Peyton Manning. And what happened? Look at Peyton Manning's roster configuration, and same exact thing. The defense. I've always said Peyton Manning the best quarterback, and he would have close to the same amount of rings as Tom Brady if he just had a 15 to 20 defense, ranked defense, right? He always
Peyton Manning is the best quarterback I've ever watched play football. Unquestionably.
Of course. But from a wins standpoint and a Super Bowl standpoint, some people will argue with you. But if you gave Peyton Manning a decent defense, I just feel like that would squash that argument. But this is once again like eerily from similar to the talking heads back then. And I'm going to say this to Dolphin fans, because Dolphin fans, look, I'm looking at you, right? I'm looking right at you, Dolphins fans. Boy, you've been really irritating lately. You cannot tell me that if you had Justin Herbert, you would rather have Tua right now on your team rather than Justin Herbert. If Justin Herbert was on your team, you guys would be putting up even better numbers, better record. You guys would be shooing for the first spot. You cannot tell me you're lying to me. You're lying to yourself. If you think that you would rather have Tua than Justin Herbert. So I'm sorry, man.
Listen, let's leave it at this. We vehemently disagree with the commentary and the notion around it. And this is what baffles me every day, that these individuals get paid to do this, Lou. To just
he made a claim that he choked in the fourth quarter because he threw an interception to end the game. Did he not just score a touchdown to put them in the lead with 1:37 left?
Yeah.
What else do you want from him? Like
against the Super Bowl favorites right now, right? Like literally against Super Bowl favorites.
Because he didn't come back with 33 seconds?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Stupid. It's stupid. As we're saying this, I got an email reminder about my DirecTV payment confirmation. I'm like, I'm still paying you right now for this fucking service.
Only one more year, man. Because then they go somewhere else.
Well, I'll gladly pay whoever that is, because it'll be a better provider anyway. We should make that as a hot topic. Who should carry the network next year?
It's going to be a streaming service, so
yeah, but which one? Right? And which
Apple.
one would you gladly?
Rumors is Apple.
I
don't
Apple,
at this point, Weston, I don't even give a shit, because they all come out of my card. So at this point,
yeah, it's auto debit anyway. All right, want to move on?
Yes. So we're going for one quarter. We're going from one overrated quarterback to maybe another. This week has been huge for all the Zach Wilson chatter, right? And I want to ask you, what do you make of the Zach Wilson shit, right? Did the Jets deserve? Should they have benched Zach Wilson first and foremost? All right, that's going to be my question number one. If so, should have Flacco been the starting quarterback this week instead of White? So I want to hear your thoughts on all this stuff that's going on, and because the Jets are 6-4, so it's not
Yeah.
they're a losing team right now.
Playoff contenders right now.
It's weird to have to kind of pull this rank and do what they're doing from a quarterback standpoint. So what do you think what's going on in the Meadowlands?
I'm going to go backwards. Mike White over Joe Flacco is the right call.
No way.
Versus like
100%.
Yes.
Oh, well, okay. We'll talk about that.
Yes.
You want to talk about that
100%
right now, or
no? I mean, listen. You asked me a question. I gave you my answer. We don't have to debate the answer. I think the real question here is about Zach Wilson. And was this the right move for the New York Jets? And I'm going to say it is the right move for the New York Jets because of them being in playoff contention, right? Like, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later in the show, so I don't want to like unveil all of this. It's like a combination effect. It's kind of like cause and effect. But the truth is what's perplexing to me about this whole scenario, and what not perplexing, what's concerning to me about this is the long-term ramifications around, dude, it's not just Zach Wilson's response to the question. It's his demeanor in the response, right? Like you hear it all the time where you give coaching advice or you talk to somebody about something and you're giving a difference of opinion, but they just seemingly don't understand, right? Like they don't get it and they don't grasp it. And that's the reality. Like, dude, it's not like Zach Wilson is not Ryan Tannehill, who played like wide receiver most of their life or through collegiate ball and then like had one season that converted to quarterback. Like, why do most people become quarterback when they're kids and they have a choice and they think about Joe Montana going to win the Super Bowl, or kids now, I'm Tom Brady, right? And you're in your backyard and you're playing that scenario. It's because you
want to get asked when they get older.
Yeah, but you want the glory. Yeah. And part of that is the glory, right? Like is the glorification around the position. But most quarterbacks, even back to their Pop Warner days, are taught, dude, when you win, people are going to celebrate you. But when you lose, it's your bad. And right, wrong, or indifferent, that is the nature of the position. And what's concerning to me is for a guy who's probably been playing quarterback his entire life, still doesn't grasp that concept. Even at the I don't care that he's he's not new to quarterback, right? Like I don't care that he's new to the NFL. He's not new to being a quarterback. Dude, he played at BYU. He didn't play at fucking Alabama where they don't lose football games, right? Like he's lost football games before. Yeah, and he probably could look at himself and be like, yo, not my bad. Like, I threw for 450 and 5 touchdowns. You know what I mean? But, like, this is a different beast, and this is what you signed up for. And to me, that's the concerning point, is the simple fundamentals of my position and the business of my position I still don't grasp. And that's a maturity thing. It'll be pegged as a lack of maturity, and that's how they'll position it. But it's a mentality. And it's a mentality I don't think he's ever going to grow out of. I just don't. He's never had to this point in his life, and that's going to be a difficult thing for me. So for me, or for him, it's. I don't mean to make a big deal out of it like everybody else is making a big deal of it. But that's why to me it is a big deal. Is the Jets have a real problem on their hand of like, dude, physically speaking, we might have chose the right guy, but the mental makeup of the person that we chose, I don't know.
So you think this is like a Baker Mayfield situation all over again type stuff. But even though Baker had a little more had success from the get,
I just think
from a mental
standpoint, Baker has more of an attitude about him and a like a moxie. But I think Baker understands, because I've heard Baker's press conferences before, and it's never they or I. It's we, right? Like, so like those sort of things. Like I mean, when you're asked point blank, dude, I don't like to make this comparison at all. But the most recent one that I've actually watched is Trey Lance after a loss over the last 2 years, over multiple losses as a starting quarterback. When he's being interviewed, never once heard even the we. All I've ever heard from his mouth is, I need to be better at this. I need to be better at this.
It's pretty easy,
and when I'm that's what I'm saying.
There's
a simple concept. And if you don't grasp it, you're never going to grasp it. You're never going to, if you didn't grasp it
There's
at 13,
literally
you're never going to get it,
there's
dude.
so much precedent of what you can just say from all quarterbacks that came up and did this the right way. Just you don't have to believe it, just say it, and then I
That's
don't
the
understand.
problem. Like, there's not even a faking it
Yeah,
mentality to this. And to me, that's when I look at the person, I'm like, you just don't get it. You just don't get it. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Like, I'm not saying that Zach Wilson's wrong. I think in this instance he is. I think he directly contributed to that loss, right? But like, the truth is, like, you just don't get it. Because what do we always say? Football is the ultimate team sport. And you had the pinnacle of opportunities to say, my bad. I let my guys down. And that's the shit that people rally around, dude, right? Is accountability. And dude, this is a young roster on that team. You saw it firsthand with wide receivers slamming their helmets and mother effing on the sideline and being and all of that points back to the quarterback. Like, you missed this read. You didn't understand what was happening. You didn't. And you had an opportunity to be like, yes, my fault. I will get better. And you took the opportunity to say, yeah, not my bad.
yeah. Listen, the attitude is less to be the less than be the desire there. But I'm going to agree with you, but for a different reason, just more about his play. They had to make this is eerily similar to the Jet. Once again, history repeating itself. The Jets with Mark Sanchez had a loaded team, strong defense, right? Strong defense, good rushing attack. Sean Green, Ladanian, right? Good offensive line. Uh, just didn't have the quarterback. Had Mark Sanchez leading the charge there. Yeah, they made a little noise, but they couldn't compete with the big dogs, in the AFC. I'm talking about your Peyton Mannings on a consistent basis, your Tom Brady's and what have you. But this is all eerily, familiar to it. For me, it's this play. He plays backyard football in every designed quarterback pass, which you cannot be successful. Has no feel for pressure whatsoever, which is disheartening because he has the arm. He doesn't need a platform to throw off of. He can make any throw. And I also feel like, in addition, I don't know what the hell he looks at half the times he throws these interceptions. He's not going through his progressions accurate, confidently. I just feel like he doesn't know what he's doing, and that's just me putting in layman's term. And I think what compounds it is the attitude, where it's like, "Hey, man, we don't need much from you. We have a stout defense. We just need you pretty much not to fuck it up." And
Yep.
he hasn't been able to do that, and he hasn't been taking accountability. So I think his attitude just compounds it. Now, I will argue with you if you want to make it, a little later, why it should be Flacco as opposed to White, but that's neither here nor there.
Right, wrong, or whoever it is, right? Like, whether it's White or Flacco, I mean, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. I think the reason why this is what it boils down to is the right play is whether you chalk it up to bad play or bad attitude around the poor play and no accountability. We talked about it leading into this. They are in playoff contention.
Yep.
You can't trot the same guy out there right now and expect your troops to rally around him. You know what your wide receiver and your skill position players are going to say, or even the defense? Like, we held New England Patriots to 3 points and still lost the game. They're going to say, really? You're putting this fucking guy out here again? And I need to go win games? Why? Listen, totally different ball game if you're not 6-4 and you're 2-8. If you're 2-8, you leave him out there. He's got to grow through it. He's got to earn their respect. He's got to answer press conferences differently. But you're 6-4. You're
Yeah,
above 500, and you're in
Salah
contention.
Salah has to cover his ass because
And
if he doesn't get more wins and be more and have a decent record by the year's end, if they go like 6-11 or 7-10 or what have you, then his seat starts getting a little more hotter because I felt like he started off to a little shaky ground. Yet understandable because of how the roster was constructed. They need a lot of work, but you need to show a little more. And I think Salah's like, screw it. It's not gonna be me leaving. It's gonna be Zach Wilson. So
and this will help them rally, not necessarily even around the quarterback, around the coach. Thank you, coach, for making this decision for us. It feels like the right decision, and belief is a funny thing, man. You know what I mean? We talk about it all the time. So
maybe Wilson humbles himself and um, we'll see what happens. Maybe he humbles himself, and when they do call upon him, let's say Mike White struggles and what have you. Maybe he does humble himself and comes in and then shows a little more flash. I do find it very interesting though. That he's not even active for this game.
No, I agree with it totally. I agree with it. The message needs to if you want this individual to humble himself and you think about this beyond the 2022 season, like that's the message, right? And the message is like, dude, I get what we drafted you, I get what we pay you, I get all of that. But if you don't fit this way, you don't play. Like
Yeah.
you don't get that opportunity. And that's the only thing that will humble him, right? Like it's not going to be like, hey, I'm going to plug him in and he has a day where he throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns and no picks, because he's just going to look around and be like, fucking told you I can do this. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just going to empower the ego.
Yeah.
It's not going to humble the ego.
Yeah.
This is 100% the right move. I take it to as far to say as like he wouldn't even
But
sniff
what
my field the rest of the season.
the one thing I and Emmanuel Acho don't understand, how can you bench someone who has a 5-2 record? All right. Anyways, let's
Yeah, no, I feel you. All right, let's digress. We went really long on those two opening topics, by the way. Let's get into our hometown takes.
yeah, and I'm gonna be quick with mine, Weston,
I do,
because I do feel like we did talk a little Chargers on the hot take, which I feel like was justified because
of course.
that was one of the more glaring things that were on social media this past week or so. So I'll try to be short and sweet, just like myself, to when addressing the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Los Angeles Chargers this past Sunday night. So if you like, I shall take the baton from you.
Please do, sir.
All right. Yo, Chargers social media and Twitter in particular were pretty upset about this game, and they felt like they got their hearts ripped out. I'm shocked that they had such high expectations, thinking that we were going to beat the Chiefs. I had really low expectation. I picked the Chiefs to win, and that's exactly what happened. I don't just do it to be a Debbie Downer. All right, I just couldn't understand how the Chargers were going to beat an Andy Reid led team. All right, the Chiefs were just better. The Chargers didn't play bad. The Chiefs were just better. This Chiefs team is a top team in the AFC and a top offense. So uh, we're acting like a lot of Charger fans are acting like, wow, we lost to the Raiders or something like that. This was a respectable game and showing. Now, was it perfect from the Chargers? Obviously not, because of the score. If you take a look at it, but the Chargers coaching staff just can't compete with Andy Reid. And I felt like this game was officially lost when Los Angeles decided to punt the ball on 4th and inches in the third quarter from their own, I think, like 38-yard line, as opposed to go for it. They were carving up the Chiefs defense, in particular in the middle. Justin Herbert, I think, was 2 for 2 on quarterback sneaks. Why not make it 3 for 3? I felt like that was, we don't want to lose it here move, as opposed to, hey, let's go get this win, right? And once again, there has to be an APB for Brandon Staley's balls. Where have they been? Because this is not the same. This is not the same coach that coached last year. He was way more aggressive now. You can say circumstances change. They have better special teams now. You might even try to say they have better defense, but they don't. Statistically speaking, they don't. They're still ranked 29th, right? So don't know why they're relying on their defense to get out, get 3 and outs, especially from a Mahomes-led team. But all that being said, yeah, I thought LA played well. They lost by 3 to the best team in the AFC. Now, if LA played like this every week, Weston, right, they'd be a hell of a lot better than 5-5. So I found some it was encouraging to see their level of play was much improved from weeks prior, right? And I've been tossing and turning this whole season with Justin Herbert. Is he regressing? He's been a hard evaluation, if you ask me, this year. If he's regression, is everything around him, but he's still very good, man. I think he's better than what the numbers say, even though I think he's ranked 5th in the NFL in passing yards. But just look at the 10 plays when they had everyone on their field, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, right? They look, quick touchdown, right? So that basically, it was only 10 plays because then Mike Williams got hurt, right? So, but that right there kind of was like, you know what? Herbert's not regressing this year. He just has a lot of shit around him. So it's good to see Herbert, unload on some deep passes, play extremely better. Looks more comfortable from the rib standpoint too. I really do think those ribs affected him pretty bad in the first 3 weeks after the injury. But when it came to the end, come on, man, Mahomes, a minute, whatever left, 2 timeouts, too easy, too easy. It's inevitable. It's inevitable. It was like I know you're not a big Marvel guy, but just exactly like Thanos, he is inevitable. He is going to get his
No idea who
wins.
that is.
Yeah, well, so some of our fans do probably like a little Marvel or what have
I'm
you.
sorry to disappoint them then, because I
Yeah,
have no idea who that is.
Weston is way too cool.
No, man. I'd say I'm just like, maybe I'm just too much of a loot. Like, I just don't know who that is.
Yeah, but this is what the greats do, bro. Like people who are expecting the Chargers defense to hold off Mahomes. I know they did it last year, okay, in Kansas City, but obviously have forgotten to watching Tom Brady do this to the Chargers during big moment after big moment. This Mahomes is on Brady's level. I was not excited. The only reason why I was excited when Justin Herbert scored that touchdown with a minute 30 left is because I was like, at least they can't get on him for not coming back in this game.
Yeah.
And guess what?
They still did.
They still did.
Yeah.
So, parting shots. I actually still think going in that's the whole. The most important game of the season so far has been the Atlanta game. They stole that victory in Atlanta. It gave them the ability to go to lose these next 2 games against the Niners and the Chiefs, right? So now they're 5-5 with 7 games left to play. And I still think they have a chance to make the playoffs. It'll come down to the Miami or the Tennessee game. They have to win one of those. And you just got to figure it. 2 teams from the North, the AFC North, are going to make it, probably Baltimore and Cincinnati, right? 2 teams from the East, Miami, Buffalo. And then you got Tennessee, you got Kansas City. Now, who's that last slot for? Is it for the Jets? I don't know. Is it for the Patriots? I don't know. Is it for the Chargers? So they still have an opportunity. It's to be determined. So I don't think they kill themselves with a loss against the Chiefs this past week.
No, and fair is fair, right? We both picked the Chiefs to win. I think where I would argue with you is I'd almost side on the social media fans and their outrage, not because I had these lofty expectations that they would win the football game, but because they were in position to win the football game, right?
They're always in the position, bro. They're always.
But
they couldn't beat the Chiefs in Kansas City week 2.
But this is listen.
When they were healthy,
this is my point. If a football game was only 30 minutes long, they might be 8-2 versus 5-5. It's the troubling factor for me here is the just absolute lack of production in the second half. I think they even put that statistic up on Sunday night, and I stayed up for every second of this game, even after being at the Giants-Lions game all day long. I know. But being there and then coming home and just watching them go, dude, I mean, that first half of that game, I thought just was like, all right, we're in this now.
It looked like the Chargers, like their offense from old, right?
Yes. It's what you expect when you have certain people on the field, right? And a certain person under center. And then again, I don't think I'm making this up, but I don't remember if it's over the last 4 games or 5 games. But essentially at this point, let's just conservatively say over the last 4 games, they scored 2 touchdowns in the second half in 4 games.
Can't do that. Can't do that, man.
Can't do that and expecting to win. I mean, they put up 0 points against the 49ers the week before in the second half. Can't win football games like that. And to me, that's coaching, right? And I know I'm not turning on any light bulbs for you that you haven't already called out yourself or around the coaching
It's
staff.
A combination between coach and personnel because they simply don't have the guys to sustain 60 minutes of football, of winning football on a consistent basis. They don't.
I mean, listen, I thought their D-line played competitive and tough. I thought Sebastian Joseph Day for a second week in a row was
Again.
all over the field doing
Derwin
everything he
did
can.
Derwin. And I don't want to hear anyone bad mouthing Derwin. The only issue with Derwin this last game, he wasn't manned up on Kelsey enough. When Kelsey had 4 targets, 2 catches, 18 yards, and a touchdown, 11 of those yards came in the game-winning touchdown with Mahomes. All right, which
Yep.
was a busted play because the free safety Nas Adderley was supposed to be shot to the left more and supposed to help Derwin out on the crosser. They knew it too, and that so Derwin played amazing, awesome sack, was always in the mix. You're right, Sebastian Joseph Day played well, but you're going. The Chiefs are going to score. The Chiefs are going to score, man.
I think what the salt in the open wound is to the non-novice fan is we always talk about on the show how Derwin has Kelsey's number, right? And like shuts him down. And I'm not saying it was Derwin's fault, but to a novice fan like you or the non-novice fan, all you see is number 3 diving at 87's ankles and 87 pulling away and going through, and you're like, damn, that's the matchup we wanted. And this is just the Chiefs being the Chiefs. And that's the stuff that creeps into your head. That's like,
that's coaching.
That's our big brother, right? Like I've watched Russell Wilson do this to the San Francisco 49ers for 10 plus years, right?
Yeah.
The 49ers have controlled the game, put themselves in position to win the football game, and just that moment, that one moment. It was always Tyler Lockett.
I don't understand. Kelsey had a huge game. Kelsey's one of those.
But it wasn't against Derwin. They put stats up during the game.
Yeah.
So what it looked like.
Kelsey had a huge game, and Kelsey's one of those players. If he's on your team, you love him. If he's not on your team, you hate him. Kind of like Rivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
First matchup, he didn't have a big game at all because they literally they just threw Derwin on the majority of the game. I don't know why they went away from that. They got way too cute. I will say though, Kansas City did some great things to basically scheme up Kelsey on some cornerbacks. So it wasn't all on the scheme itself. But I thought there was more opportunities for Derwin to follow Kelsey around where they made him. I felt like they made him play in the back end way too much as a strong safety. I don't understand why, especially when they were banged up from a wide receiver standpoint, Kansas City. So that's neither here nor there. Listen, for one person, I'm an angry fan, right, Weston?
Yes.
I'm an angry, bitter person. I'm like, you just got to tip your cap on this one. They're just a better team.
But it's
you're hoping to get lucky. You're hoping to get lucky right now. If you're a Chargers fan, the way the injuries they had and everything, you're just hoping to get lucky. And they didn't get lucky. How do you get pissed about that?
You don't, but like, again, when you're in the game, it's different. Like, listen, if they got blown out, you'd be like, oh, we don't even belong in the same conversation. So you're upset no matter which way this like really goes. But we talk about this, dude, and we talk about coaching in the NFL all the time. And I agree with you. I saw this firsthand in the Chiefs 49ers game. The scoreboard tells you the Chiefs blew that game out of the water, but they did all that damage with like sub 10 minutes in the fourth quarter, right? But that's coaching, adapting. And I think what the Chargers need right now is somebody. I don't care if it's inside the organization, outside the organization. I don't care if they bring in a motivational speaker, somebody that needs to light a fire under their ass during a halftime to say, hey, guys, we still have 30 minutes of football. Like, how do we go play the last 30 minutes like we played the first 30 minutes and we'll win a lot of football games?
Weston, let me ask you one question. Then we can go to San Francisco or Mexico, Last question. Of all the other teams in the NFL, what team plays the Chiefs the hardest?
It's the Chargers do, yeah.
No other team competes with the Chiefs. Not saying in a winning fashion.
Yeah.
But
consistently the way they
if you lined up all those other teams and they had to play the Chiefs twice, I'm sorry, different. Man. The Chargers they always is right there at the end, and you can just tell. Even people like a lot of Chiefs. The guy Pete that was on our show, he goes, "It's the Chargers always make these games like unbearable to watch, meaning like it's always gut wrenching because you always think it's going to go down to the wire." Yeah. So
well, it's what you've always said on this is like, hey, they lose pretty and they win ugly.
They're the prettiest losers out there, man. All right, let's go to Mexico.
Let's go.
You boys like Mexico?
Let's go to Estadio Azteca. where the 49ers played the Cardinals. Like, talk about just getting the cards dealt in your favor, because this is technically on the schedule an away game, so it doesn't count against their home games, but still had 80% of, or 75+% of the tickets sold to 49er fans versus Cardinal fans. Cool. Different stadium. You don't like that stadium. So is like, I mean, dude, it's literally on a mountain, right? Like, it is a wild how high up it is in from an elevation standpoint, but just cool because you get the London games every year. You don't get Mexico City every year. You get it a handful of times. And the 49ers have played in, I think, forgive me, I think they played last year, but I think it was Cardinals Raiders, or the last one was Cardinals Raiders, whenever it was. Neither here nor there. I'll start with my bad. So, like, listen, the first few possessions were on the offensive side of the ball a little lackluster. Defensively, kind of they were like moving the ball. Arizona was able to move the ball. And what was even more concerning is, and not to be unexpected, but concerning, was very early, it looked like a handful of the 49ers, specifically like Charvarius Ward and Dre Greenlaw, even Nick Bosa, just looked gassed.
Oh
Like, they were
yeah.
struggling with the altitude early in the game. But when I would look at the Cardinals players, they didn't. So then it's like, all right, is this going to be a game-long problem? Who's got the better conditioning? Whose preparation regimen was better suited? Because the Cardinals stayed at home and used like altitude masks, right? Where the 49ers went to Colorado to play in and practice in elevation and prepping. So it becomes like those mental head games. Being the skeptical fan that I am, I was suspect of the game plan early on, where it just, especially in the first half, just such a heavy reliance on the
On the
passing game
pass. I feel
versus
like
the running game.
I feel like this is the second week in a row. So obviously Shanahan, his thought process. I don't mean to step on your toes here, but for the second week in a row, he wants to pass a lot in the first half, get out to an open lead, and just bludgeon you in the second half. That's what it looks like he wants to accomplish for all these new toys that he has.
Yeah, and I don't even think he wants to bludgeon you. I don't think he has any false expectations of like, I'm going to get out to a 14 or 17 or a 21-point lead. If it happens, it happens. But I also think like the book's out, right? The book's out. Like, this is Shanahan. Like, they run the football and they run it like very unconventionally in many different fashions, and what you're trying to do, etc. But like, how do you pull people out of the box, right? To open up and do those sort of things is like the pass is coming. And you know how I feel every time I have to watch Jimmy G drop back to throw a pass. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. I appreciate
Can
when
I
they're
can I
running the
make
ball a little more.
Can I make an analogy with Jimmy G? Because I watched a lot of this game, only 3 quarters. Couldn't watch the fourth because it was out of hand by then. All right, so I was intoxicated and I had a come to Jesus moment about Jimmy G. All right, so I kind of like martial arts, right? Don't mind martial arts. So um, I compare Jimmy G's quarterback style to the Drunken Monkey. Now, if you know anything about martial arts, Drunken Monkey is pretty much a style where, like, two things. You want to have your opponent pretty much think that, hey, I'm not in the right mind state to fight. All right, this is going to be bad. And also, it's another aspect of it is like if you are at a bar intoxicated, you would be able to defend yourself because you practice these types of movements and balances and what have you. Where it looks like, oh my God, this person's so messed up, and then they kick the shit out of you. So Jimmy G, watching him play those three quarters really intently, rewinding stuff, he has a lot of moments like, oh God, oh, okay. Like those type of moments where it's not going to look pretty, but he'll get it done. And it's more so this year, I think, than the years prior. And the reason being is because you guys are loaded at the talent position, right? The skill position. And really making it work. I feel like there's as opposed to like who do we get to get? We talked about this before when they acquired McCaffrey. How do you want to get the ball to all these playmakers? It seems like they have some sort of a strategy. It's all making sense. So, yeah, Jimmy G has looked pretty good and efficient, and that's all they need him to be.
No doubt. And I'm going to talk about that in a second in the good. I do think that the run game early was like struggling a little bit because that's what Arizona was preparing for, as all teams do. I was a little perplexed by Elijah Mitchell literally getting 4 snaps in the first half, where I thought this was a guy that wasn't just supposed to spell Christian McCaffrey, was supposed to split time with Christian McCaffrey to preserve Christian McCaffrey for when it matters the most. But honestly, aside from that, like, how do you argue with a 28-point victory against a division rival who most people overlook that the Arizona Cardinals have had the 49ers number over years of late in terms of win-loss record? So, again, those were just the things that I'm like, not really sure what's going on, but I'll sit and watch. And then everything came full circle.
Yeah,
so
but you never
you talked about.
You never felt like nervous or there was no like anxiety. Or
I did in the first half. Because like close games, bro. It's still a close game. And listen, I understand that the Cardinals limped in with Colt McCoy, right? But I've seen this movie before, just as early as last year, where Colt McCoy put a spanking on the San Francisco 49ers. Not just a win, a beatdown of the San Francisco 49ers. So it was a little troubling, a little concerning. They put my concerns at ease early in the second half, getting out, putting points on the board. The running game turned around. I think the play calling opened up a little bit more. Obviously, and I hate saying this, like usually it's the run game opens up the pass game, right? But the pass game clearly opened up the run game in the second half, where they were able just to take over time of possession and move that tired defensive line around essentially at will. I don't think it's
to be fair, watch the first half of the Niners game this up. I want to know if they come out with the same type of plan to throw it more in the first half. I'm intrigued to see, because it's been 2 weeks now, and we'll see.
Yeah. Quick side note is the offensive line has been playing pretty well as of late. Yeah. And I know there was a lot of social media talk spearheaded by some certain individuals that we know last week about Trent Williams tipping plays and doing things of that nature. But my God, he is just good.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Oh my God. Like, just the way he moves. And dude, they showed multiple plays where he's laying out 2 people 5 yards apart from one another, like on the same play. And it's just like, God, like there are just very few of those people in the NFL, and thankful we have one of the things that I think you just called out, Lou, that like everybody wants to highlight the weapons that they have, right? Whether it's Kittle and Ayuk and Debo and CMC and now Elijah Mitchell add into that mix. Like, yeah, but there's still only one football to go around. And I'm always leery of that, as to when does the ego come in? When do these guys want more of the ball?
I'll tell you when the ego comes in. When you lose a couple in a row.
It's true, man. But even from like the quarterback and the play caller's perspective, like, are you conscious of like, hey, I haven't gotten Debo work. I got to get him work. Instead of just letting the game come to you and just letting it go and let other playmakers, because you have so many of them, make plays. But this was the first example of actually spreading the ball out well amongst those players.
Everyone ate.
I mean, Kittle had 2 TDs. And 80 plus yards receiving. Mm-hmm. Ayuk had 2 TDs. Debo had 94 total yards in a TD. CMC had 106 total yards.
Love what they're doing with CMC and Debo in the back, flanking the quarterbacks to the left and the right. Love that with the motion. They have Juszczyk, dude. They are, dude. It's gonna be mind-boggling.
Dude, they had one play, and I've been waiting for this and haven't seen it yet in this capacity. But essentially, CMC was split out in the slot. Debo was in the backfield, lined up in shotgun next to Garoppolo. Motioned McCaffrey back in. So now Jimmy's got backs on both sides. And they both ran essentially Texas routes at different depths. And he went to McCaffrey, but you're sitting there looking at it like, well, Debo's wide open too, right? Like, it didn't even matter at that point. Like, I would argue that Debo was more open than McCaffrey, and he tried to fit it in the window, even though Debo was the more shallow crosser on the Texas route, and McCaffrey was a little bit deeper, still equated to a first down. But I'm like looking at this, I'm like, as a defense, like, pick your poison.
Yeah.
Which one do you take away? Candidly, I'd probably rather try to tackle Christian McCaffrey after the catch than I want to tackle Debo after the catch, right? So, but all good. I mean, defensively, dude, third straight week where they've allowed 0 points in the second half. So we're talking about teams of second halves, right? And how the Chargers have been struggling. 49ers defensively have stepped up. And offensively, over those last 3 games, they've actually outscored their opponents 52-0 in the second half over 3 weeks. I am keeping in mind here, and please don't read too far into this, the quality of the competition. So you have the Arizona Cardinals without Kyler Murray. You have the Rams, who have just been god awful this season, even though they won the Super Bowl last year. And at the time, a severely banged up Los Angeles Chargers team, right? Like it wasn't even the same team the Chargers fielded this past weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I look at that and I say, okay, you have a 500 team and you have 2 teams that are below 500 that you did this to. I want to see what this looks like over the next stretch. I know New Orleans is sub 500, but I think they're a better team than their record says. I know. Then you got Miami. Then you got Tampa Bay.
Okay,
right?
Miami is the litmus test for your defense because you have to see, and Tua is a winner, so you have to see, can they compete with that speed? What can they do to slow down? That's going to be interesting. And they've added a little power by Jeff with the acquisition of Jeff Wilson, something I think they needed really to do because they're a finesse team. So that's going to be interesting. That Miami, from many aspects, because Miami's defense also matches up pretty fairly well against you guys too. So
I definitely, that's going to be
Miami blitzes a lot, and I think normally I think that's how you're going to get to the 49ers. Apply pressure to Jimmy G. Try to make these playmakers make decisions, make them be reactive as opposed to, premeditated type of stuff. So that's going to be a really good game. That needs to be. I don't know if it is, but that needs to be flexed to a prime time.
I don't think it is going to be flexed because I think Mahomes is playing Sunday night that week.
Yeah, but they're playing Denver, man.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, the NFL's got.
The NFL's not flexing. They're not flexing out Patrick Mahomes. They're not, man. That's the prized possession. You know what I mean? Because he does everything right, dude. You know what I mean?
Like, it's gonna be such a bad game, bro.
I know, but they're not gonna flex him out. It's Russell Wilson versus Patrick Mahomes. You can sell the narrative all day long.
How are you gonna sell?
I know, but they're not flexing that out. But you alluded to this.
One's filet mignon, the other's McDonald's hamburger.
I know. I could go for a McDonald's hamburger right now, to be honest with you. I think the biggest component of this, and you alluded to it earlier, has been the play of Jimmy. We visit this subject every so often, and this is the revolving hamster wheel that is the San Francisco 49ers, while number 10 is the quarterback. But his 3rd consecutive game without a turnover. He just has been sharper, more competent with the football, and a lack thereof of those moments with the ball. Like, you just haven't seen those. I would go as far as to argue that this was one of, if not the most complete game he's ever played as a San Francisco 49er.
Well, maybe he's been playing so much better with the acquisition of CMC for the main fact that now, technically, if they line them both in the backfield, you got 2 dump offs for Jimmy G. If you can't find Ayuk deep or Kittle over the middle, he has 2 options, just to dump it off and let them get 7 yards. So maybe this is how they make it easier for him.
I'm sure it gets simpler, right? And he's said it, right? Like, they make my job real easy. But the biggest piece here is like no forced, right? Like, even the first touchdown to Ayuk in game speed, you're like, whoa, you fit that into a window, right? And whoa, that was nerve-wracking because if that's off targets being picked, and then you watch it like slow-mo when they're showing the replays, and you're like, no, he was open. Like, he was open and he threw the ball.
Yeah.
It's
what's weird too, watching Jimmy G play? The times he looks bad is when the times he has time to throw.
Too much time.
As a traditional pocket passer.
Yeah.
Like, he's not getting the ball out quick. Like, that's usually where it's trouble. If he's trying to push the ball deep, it just doesn't look good or look right. Like a 15-yard in or something like that. It's just a traditional pocket passer. If he's not getting the ball out quick, man.
No, I think
it doesn't look good.
Yeah, no, he's best when the first read is right? And that's on Kyle to draw up that first read and get open. But I think Now, when you talk about those like dump off options, you can simplify the offense by being like, all right, if number one's not open, you don't even have to get to number 3 read. Number 2 will be open, right? Like just dump it off and let them make work.
Yeah.
And then this way you don't have to force the issue. Now here's the last thing that I'll say, and this is the precursor into our overreaction, I'm freaking out segment, is we've talked about how this league is like a knee-jerk reaction league, right? And you immediately, based on that game, have teams or have the talking heads be like, this is a Super Bowl contender. This is
100%.
this is a Super Bowl contender team.
I'm with you. I'm with them, Weston. I will tell
let's
you right
pump
now.
the brakes, dude. Let's fucking pump the brakes for a hot second.
Why?
Because again, I'm keeping in mind the level of competition.
Who in the NFC scares you? Go ahead. Let's go.
No, I'm not saying anybody. You know who scares?
Actually, you know what? Let's pause. Let's pause. I'll wait to talk. All right.
So I'll quickly answer your question. There's nobody in the NFC that actually scares me. Right? It's the 49ers scare me.
All right. Well,
right.
You know what? I'm not going to answer this because they are part of my answers to a future segment. So,
all right. I just think they yes, on paper, the last 3 games, whatever it is you want to say is, yeah, they got the ability, right? Especially considering the conference that they're in. Get it. Totally get it. But I've also seen them play the Kansas City Chiefs, who I would argue are probably the favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. And I saw what they did to us as well. So I pumped the brakes real fast to say, we ain't there yet, right? Like we're judging and we're making in a league of recency bias.
All right. I can't talk. I can't talk right now. You're killing me here.
That's all I'm going to say is like,
let's go to our next segment.
I am not on that bandwagon yet. And this is how you know I'm not a homer, right? Because it's very easy to say they are. Now, I understand given the conference, given their division, given some things like they have the ability to put themselves there. But if there's anything that can stop them from getting there, it's themselves. And I've seen them do that, right? You know what I mean?
Wes,
I've seen that happen.
I want you to do me a favor. Ask me what I'm freaking out right now about.
Lou, what are you freaking out about?
If I'm a 49ers fan, I'm freaking out, Weston, in a positive way. So now this is how we're transitioning to freaking out, by the way. It's because everything you said, you're just trying to protect your heart, just like I was with Justin Herbert, right? But yeah, the 49ers are the Super Bowl team for the NFC, in my opinion. Let me tell you why. All right. That defense is phenomenal. But now they're starting to formulate an offense, a complex offense. Right? Teams are going to have difficult times stopping, especially in the playoffs, because they have a running game. They got 2 rushers now. Take the pressure off for one, God forbid for injuries. But they have, from the skill standpoint, no one scares me in the NFC if I'm the Niners fan, right? Who scares you? Is it the Cowboys? Great team, but they always cowboy up and they have awful coaching. No. All right. So guess what? The Packers aren't going to be there for you. You know, not that you guys don't play them well, but it's always a scary
playoff beater.
Yeah, but I understand, but it's still a scary thought going against Aaron Rodgers. They ain't there. So guess who's replacing the Packers in the North? Really? You're going to be scared of Kirk Cousins? Really? All right. No. So let's go all the way to the South. Tom Brady, they don't have it. You've numerous times said on this show that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, there's just a different look at them. And I've said it's their coaching. So fair to say Tampa Bay don't have it.
Yep.
Is it your rivals in your own division? Well, guess what? Matthew Stafford's not playing again. Cooper Kupp out 6 weeks. Boom. Rams are out. They're sitting at 3-7. You just pretty almost put the nail in the coffin. The Cardinals, who's been kind of like your a thorn in your side. Now you have to worry. You're nervous about Geno Smith. You're really nervous about Geno Smith, and you guys really match up well against them because what do the Seahawks do? They rush the ball. What do you guys do? You stop the rush.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell. Yes, 100%. Oh, okay. Oh, forgetting about the Eagles and the Eagles. I am relying more on experience right now than the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles have no experience when it comes to, playoffs. Not this roster. Jalen Hurts is still young. I'm relying on experience. What you guys have a one up, and that's huge. That is huge. You hear all the talk. You hear all these players saying it's just another game. It ain't another game. There's more at stake. There's more on the line. So if I'm the 49ers fans, hell yeah, man. I'm like, this is it. We're going back to the Super Bowl because there's absolutely no one in the NFC that scares me anymore. So
yeah. So I'll say this: the back half of the schedule is going to be telling. 4 out of their next 5 games are against teams winning records. Their previous, let's go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games were against teams with losing records. So again, I think the 49ers are their biggest obstacle. What I'm saying is, like, let's stop with the knee-jerk reactions of coming off a 28-point victory against a wounded team in Mexico City that, like, we should beat. I'm not saying you should beat any team in the NFL by 28 points. You shouldn't. That's why you don't see 28-point spreads in the NFL like you do in college, right? Like, that should never be the case, and that's positive. I'm pumping the brakes on those expectations because I've seen this movie before, and I know
you
we
can't tell
can
me
just as quickly get in our own way.
And yet you can't tell me who scares you. All right.
No, I can. The 49ers scare me. They scare me.
All right.
The quarterback scares me.
All right. What are you freaking out about, Weston?
The aforementioned Arizona Cardinals. and obviously not a positive way. And it's not the loss to the 49ers. It's the subject matter at hand throughout the entire game for the Arizona Cardinals. And it's the status of Kyler Murray on this team. Oh, by the way, a player you just committed to an exorbitant amount of money. And the talk the entire time is lack of accountability, lack of leadership. The list goes on. Like, to me, that's very concerning when you're having those conversations for someone who's expected to lead the way for years to come. And that's going to be beyond the Cliff Kingsbury experiment, right? Like, I fully expect that I wish they would sign Cliff Kingsbury to like a 42-year extension at this point in time, but they won't. But he will be gone, right? In my opinion, he probably will be gone. And Kyler Murray's still going to be attached to this. But where I'm going, Lou, what do I always tell you? I'm an eye guy. I'm a tape guy. And when I watched that game, there was something very telling to me during the game. And maybe most people didn't even pick up on it. But anytime they would shoot to the sideline and show Kyler Murray, I never saw him interacting with anyone, which just feels odd. Like, this feels like the movie Draft Day when they were talking about the quarterback, Bo Callahan, that was supposed to get first. And they're like, who went to your birthday party? And the truth was not a single teammate went to his birthday party. Like, I subscribe to that stuff from this position. Like, when I see injured players on the sideline during a game, I always see them with their fellow position players, with the position coach, chatting it up, coaching it up, especially when they're starters. I saw absolutely nothing with that. Nothing with that. And to me, that's really telling that, like, I don't know if he wants to engage with these guys or if they want to engage with him. And I don't care which is right and which is wrong. It's a problem no matter how you cut it. And I think that speaks to the leadership capability. Dude, they went as like, and we all know the stories, right? Like, hey, they worked into his contract that he's got to do studying and got to do these things. And you hear the notes of the about like, oh, this video game came out. He's probably doing that and doing that. Like, there's some truth in that jest, right? Like, dude, you saw it during the preseason. They made him call plays. They literally made him call plays. This is a big issue. You don't want to know what the bigger issue is? And Lou, I will not let you twist my words in any capacity around this for any posting content, because I know you will. So you better include this portion of it in the whatever it is you post. But candidly, the offense runs smoothly and according to plan with Colt McCoy under center, more so than it does Kyler Murray.
All right, so Weston, you heard it here first. Colt McCoy is a better quarterback than Kyler Murray.
That's what I'm talking about. Not saying that. Kyler Murray, we talked about Zach Wilson playing backyard ball. Kyler Murray is phenomenal at backyard football. Very good at it. I think, but I sometimes think we knock Cliff Kingsbury, right, in some capacity. But I think there's something to be said about players who deviate from the plan and don't trust the playbook and let it come to fruition. I know players play and coaches coach, but experience tells me that coaches tend to know more about the game than the players do. Just going out on a limb here and saying that, like, this is a bigger problem, and I think it comes down to, like, I honestly don't think Kyler's teammates believe in him, and you can't just up and get rid of 53 players on a roster, right? Like, there's gonna be continuity of those folks, and this goes back to the Zach Wilson saga. So I digress. I just think there's a problem looming here, and it very much has to do with the most important position on the field for the Arizona Cardinals.
All right.
What do you got? Any more you're freaking out about?
I got one more about the Bengals. We were, after they went to Super Bowl and lost last year, everyone was quick to say the Bengals are the type of team that would miss the playoffs because they just got hot at the right time. And they started off this year 0-2. I feel like no one's talking about them. They're 6-4. And they're getting Jamar Chase back. I think people are sleeping on the Bengals here. They have a little experience. They got the talent. If I'm a Bengals fan, you weather the storm the beginning of the year, and you're making a push for the playoffs. Now they do have a hard schedule coming up, but that being said, look at all other teams are competing for a playoff spot: the Jets, the Patriots, and the Chargers. All those schedules are pretty difficult too. They have a real shot to get back to the playoffs. Not bad for a team that's hasn't been to the playoffs in quite some time, going back-to-back years.
Wow, dude, I'm looking at the schedule that they have coming up.
Rattle off.
This is a gauntlet. At Tennessee this week. Home against the Chiefs.
That's rough.
Home against the Browns.
Yeah.
At Tampa Bay.
That might be Browns with Watson, though.
Yep. So then after that, at Tampa Bay, at New England, home against the Bills, home against the Ravens.
Ooh.
So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Where's the easy game of your
well, it depends on who.
The Browns.
I still say the Browns, even if Watson's under, because it's just not enough time.
Yeah.
So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of your remaining 7 games are against teams above 500 that are competing for playoff spots.
And no one really outside the Chiefs, no one's really locked up anything of those divisions, but they're playing the Chiefs not too late in the season when the Chiefs are going to rest the starters.
They
want that 1 seed,
Yeah, dude, that's
going to be brutal.
But I agree with you. You weathered the storm totally, and I'm guilty of this, saying that, like, I mean, listen, I picked Baltimore to win the division. I think
I still think they did too.
Yeah. But I don't think people are wrong to say that, like, hey, there's a lot of things on paper tell me that Cincinnati would be the quintessential Super Bowl hangover team. Like, they did get hot at the right time. They were, a young football team. And prior to that season, Zach Taylor's record as a head coach was abysmal, right? And then they went on this unthinkable run that almost was like, you guys should win the Super Bowl, right? Because you went on a run that was, like, unprecedented in who they went through to even get there, right? Like, in the games, down 21 points to the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, and you figure out a way to win that game. Like, that's wild, dude. Wow, that's a tough schedule. So I'd be freaking out both ways. I'd be freaking out positive, like, hey, look where we are, but goddamn, look where we still have to go to get there, because things could go bad in a hurry. But I think they're equipped. I mean, offensively speaking, they're a good football team. Getting their playmaker, their number 1 playmaker back. Defensively, they're sound. So, wow. I'm floored by that schedule. Yeah. I would be like, wow. If they weather that, they could go back to the Super Bowl if they weather that.
All right. You have any more now?
Yeah, I do. It's low-hanging fruit. I'm taking the New York Jets, and I'm not taking it because of the Zach Wilson thing. I think that's more of a problem that is next year and the years beyond that than it is this year. And it's not necessarily the immediate recent loss to the Patriots. I mean, this team just beat the Bills, right? Like, it's the manner in which they lost to the Patriots that is concerning to me. Essentially a punt return for a walk-off touchdown. When was the last time you saw that happen?
A punt return? A kickoff return, but not punt return.
To walk off the game.
Yeah.
I can tell you when it happened. It happened Deshaun Watson from the Philadelphia Eagles against the New York Football Giants in Giant Stadium, a game in which I was physically
you just
present.
said Deshaun Watson?
Oh, excuse me, Deshaun Jackson.
Ah, okay.
As a Philadelphia Eagle. That's how long ago it happened. You want to know why you don't really know? Because it's not supposed to happen, Lou. You don't see this because you were taught. And again, this is one of those things when I'm talking about the Zach Wilson saga that you learn in Pee Wee football. Don't let them field the punt. You kick it out of bounds. You do whatever. You make them have to go down the field. You don't leave it to chance. You don't leave it to special teams. So the concern for me is with a mistake like that, it just tells me that this team is not there yet. And when you couple it with the Zach Wilson stuff, I honestly think this is where we just see the Jets come back to reality for the remainder of the season. That's the straw that broke the camel's back, is that game against the New England Patriots, who they've now lost to, what was it, 13 or 14 straight times. 14. You score 3 points. You only give up 3 points, but you find a way to lose. And here's why. I've said it 3 times since we've been on the show. I say it probably 3 times on every show, that belief in the NFL is a very powerful thing. But when these types of things happen, the Zach Wilson saga, losing a game that way, it takes and it sucks the air right out of that belief. And it just brings you back to, like, you know, we are who they thought they are, right? Like that and that's going to be the challenge for Robert Saleh. And that's the reason behind the benching, right? Is like, no, we are not who we thought, who people think we are. Mm-hmm. We're going to turn this thing around. And that's why you have to do stuff like that. So and honestly, this is just my own suspicion, but I guarantee if we let 3 Jet fans on right now that are, avid fans and understand what they're talking about and they're paying attention, I bet they feel the exact same way, that could have been the moment that the slide begins.
Yeah.
Good news for your Chargers.
I had Jets on there too, and basically I said, see the Sanchez years, but maybe not as good.
No, because the defense is not as good. That defense was suffocating in the Rex Ryan years.
Yeah, they were good,
when they were playing in AFC Championship games.
I know.
All right, Lou, it's Turkey Day tomorrow. 3 games on the docket. Got another whatever on. Nobody gets a bye week on Thanksgiving week, by the way. So you have 16 games this week. What do you keep an eye out for? What are you watching?
Well, I talked about it before, but I think the biggest game on this docket is the Bengals at the Titans. This game is huge for playoff implications. The Bengals, like I said, the Bengals, Jets, Pats, and Chargers are 4 teams fighting for 2 playoff spots. If the Bengals lose here, it's going to put them behind the 8 ball because you just went over what their schedule was, right?
Yep.
So they need to. This is probably a game they really need. This is in the words of Weston Smith, this is a must-win game for them, right? Because it does not get easier from here on out, and this is probably the best way for them to get a W compared to all those other teams we just you talked about before. So that game, I'm really intrigued by that matchup.
Yeah, I have that on my list, so I won't belabor a point. But what you just said about my must-win games. So I was having this conversation with a colleague the other day who's an avid sports fan, and we were talking about why like NFL atmosphere is so different than like going to just a regular season NBA game or a regular season MLB game and things of that nature. And the reality is that they're just far and few between. So if you really think about it, every football game feels like a playoff game because they're limited. And when you say it and you position it that way, Lou, that's why every game is a must-win football game, right?
Mhm.
Because it could be never, very rarely in the major leagues are you like, or in Major League Baseball or in the NBA, you're like, that one game broke the season, right? But in the NFL, you could be like, that one game broke the season, right? That one game. Like the 49ers could look back on this and be like, how did we lose to the Chicago Bears in week 1? How did we lose to the Denver Broncos in week 3? Like,
Yeah.
you win those games, you're 8-2, and you're not even, bro, you're bidding for first round bye, right? Versus like struggling through the
You know
playoffs.
how I hear. You know how I love that word "if."
If yes, I do.
I
But
won't.
yeah,
My poor aunt.
yeah, but your poor
Or
man
my
just get,
uncle.
yeah, both of them get slandered ridiculously on this show. The truth is, I think this week is fraudulent, right? Like it's another one of those like, hey, not a ton of like
I
I'm
got
looking
one
forward
more.
to.
Do you have
I
one
do,
more?
I do, I do, I do. And this is my prelude into it,
Oh,
but
okay, a
like,
little foreplay,
yeah,
like
you know what I mean? Like just
yeah,
stimulating some area for you.
yeah,
But like the Packers versus the Eagles under normal circumstances, I'd be all in on that game, right?
yeah, that would be a
Rams
good game.
Rams versus the Chiefs under normal circumstances, I'd be
Yeah,
all in on that game. So for me, the game, besides the one that you mentioned, the only other game that I'm all in on is the Giants versus the Cowboys. So this is during the heart of the holiday games, right? That 4:30 primetime spot, division rivals. And you know what? Which Cowboys team do we get? The team that lost to the Packers or the team that just embarrassed the Vikings this
I
past
feel
week?
I feel like we're gonna get this question
Every
every.
week.
You can say this question every week. You can legitimately say, "What Cowboys team is this?" And you're not gonna know until the end of the season.
And you're not going to know till the playoff game. They'll
Want to
get
talk
a
about
playoff
Doctor?
spot.
You want to talk about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
Yeah.
Oof, that's your
Yep.
Cowboys, man.
And sorry, Cowboy fans, but OBJ is not making the difference that you want him to make if he goes there.
I don't know, man.
No,
I think I'm
if
not.
they had better coaching, I would say they'd find a way to make that happen.
I don't know. I really feel like Odell would bring something they don't have, that yards after catch type of guy. Um, I don't know.
But at this point in the
They will
season, Lou,
be better
what is
with
the
him.
impact? Playoffs? He's
Yeah.
3 games away. Even if he played this week, he's 3 games away from being in game shape, right? Like, and what does he got? He's coming off an ACL, dude. Like, you know how these things take a little bit of time to get confidence and get some things around. I don't think he's the answer for anybody that he goes to, right? Like I just think it's like he's better served as the threat and the decoy, right? That you do have to account for because you can't leave him open. He's clearly competent. But I would say the same thing for the Giants. Do you get the 7-2 Giants prior to the week, or do you get the team that just got mollywopped by the Detroit Lions at home, right? Like which team do you get? And that's what I'm most interested in. But this has huge playoff implications as well. This has huge divisional implications as well. But that outside of the one that you mentioned, and to not belabor a point, that's the other game that I got my eye on.
All right.
You got another, or was that
I
your
could
second?
throw out I'm interested in, believe it or not, I don't know why, but one of the matchups I'm interested in is actually tomorrow night's matchup of the Patriots versus the Vikings, because I think the Patriots, it's going to be interesting because, you know what, I'm just going to, what was imitation is the best form of flattery, right? I'm just going, which Vikings team are we going to get?
Yep.
So
Yep.
you can easily say that
Mhm.
are they going to be the one that got turned off TV from last week, or are they going to be the ones that are 8-2? You know, which Patriots team are we going to get?
Yep.
So I think there's
Yep.
so much of a wide array of outcomes
Well,
with that game.
it's Kirk Cousins in prime time, so your guess is as good as mine as to which one we're going to get. Opportune time to make the transition here, Lou. And let's go.
I feel like I did good last week.
You did
Did
fantastic last week.
I
You
don't
were
see. I never remember.
you were 11-3.
Ooh.
Yeah, we had 4 games different from one another. No, 3.
I thought we had 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we had the Titans and Packers game different. That was
I know
Thursday
I
night.
started off awful in that from the week one.
Yeah.
That
We
week.
had the Giants Lions different.
We had a couple more, man.
No, we did.
Red. Ooh,
I'm just
sorry, don't cancel me. Commanders and Texans.
yes, we had different.
There was another one, man.
Cowboys Vikings.
Yes. That's 4 games. Different.
Yeah. So let me make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Weston,
7,
you can tell
8,
not do
9, 10.
Common Core math growing
No,
up.
you had 11, but here's where I'm confused because we had 4 games different. You got 3 of the 4 right,
Yeah.
but that doesn't add up. So if I got 1 right, that means you would have picked up 3 games, but mathematically I only have you picking up 2 games.
Then you guys do some better math there, my friend.
No, because all right, Titans, Bills, Eagles, both had Pats, both had Saints. You had G-Men, I had Ravens.
No, I had Lions.
That's what I'm saying. I had G-Men, you had Lions. We both
Okay.
had Ravens. You had Washington. We both had the Broncos. You had Cowboys. But if I add this up, because there was 14 games last weekend. So I have me at 9-5, you at 11-3. So
How's that possible?
That's what I'm saying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
At this point, Weston doesn't matter. I'm in.
But this is why I get mad because math is my thing, and dude, I literally
Clearly.
but like, all right, Titans Packers, right? Like, okay, I want you to no, before we're making picks, we're doing this because I won't be able to sleep if we don't do this. I promise you. So let's start. I want Titans, Packers. I had Titans. You had Packers.
Yes.
Chicago, Atlanta. We both had Bears. Both wrong. So I'm +1 right now, right? Cleveland, Buffalo. We both had the Bills. Still +1. Eagles, Colts. We both had Eagles. I'm still +1. Jets, Pats. We both had Pats. I'm still +1. Saints, Rams. We both had Saints. I'm still +1. Oh, that's why. So then Detroit, New York. You had Detroit. I had New York. So we're even.
Yes.
And then those other 2 games are the +2.
Yes.
Got it. Whew. Bro, I was like, my math is not wrong.
All right, so let's what's the
yeah. So you were 11-3, I was 9-5. Overall for the season, I'm 94-70. You're 101-63. So you're now +7 on the season.
Wow, this is I thought I did good last year, but wow, do you have what my record was last year, Weston?
I could go find it. Okay. I don't have it handy right now.
You know, tomorrow you're not doing anything tomorrow, right? Just
no. I'm
okay.
just
all right, let's do it.
Turkey and shit. All right, so let's get into week 12. Let me bring this up. Week 12. 3 matchups tomorrow, and
I think we go every other.
Okay. Buffalo at Detroit.
You want to start?
Bills.
I'll go Bills.
Come on, bro. You're gonna go. All right. Giants at Cowboys.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, I'm Cowboys too on this. Patriots at Vikings. I'm the Patriots.
Really? Because I really want to go Patriots. So I just make it interesting. Go Vikings,
no, bro.
I think we should
picking to win. You're picking to win. So I mean, you got a 7-game lead. You could do. I ain't making it back up all this week.
No, come on. There's certain things. All right, there are certain things in life that are certainties, right? And one of them is Kirk Cousins did not win at night. I'm sorry, Weston. I gotta go Patriots. I can't even mess around. I'll mess around with a couple other games.
I don't want you to. I want you to pick the way that you want to pick. I only get
I'm,
my
I'm,
opportunity to
I'm
pick first. All right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Cleveland Browns.
the Bucks.
I am the Bucks as well. The Cincinnati Bengals at the Tennessee Titans.
All right, let me.
Wait, I get to go first on this one.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna take the Cincinnati Bengals.
Okay, I'm glad you did that. The last 4 weeks, bare minimum 2 or 3, I have picked against the Tennessee Titans. I've said ill things about them, and somehow they just win. It's because of coaching. I am finally going to pick the Titans to win a game.
Perfect. So the Bengals are definitely going to win. Definitely going to win. What's the one team in that allotment, right? If I go back, so Titans.
You know what? The Titans have been my bugaboo, man. Like, I cannot, every time I pick them to lose, they win.
Chiefs. The Titans played the Chiefs. So the high-powered offense, you want to go in and try to run the ball against Tennessee, and you can't stop the run, you're going to struggle. You got to find a different way. And I don't know. I just think the Cincinnati Bengals have the offense equipped to give this defense fits.
By the way,
I don't know.
Mixon, I don't know if he's playing.
That's all right. I'm still saying the Cincinnati Bengals, and we don't pick by spread here, so they just got to win by 1 point, and I'm right and you're wrong. All right. I fully expect us to be different on this game. The Houston Texans at the Miami Dolphins.
Fins up, Miami.
Yeah,
Tua. I don't know how he does, but he gets another win.
I don't know how he ekes this one out. The Chicago Bears at the New York Jets. I'm taking the New York Jets.
Yeah, I am too. This is so apropos. Here it is. What other way would it be than the Jets to bench their star, if people can't see me, I'm using quotation mark, rookie first-round quarterback, and their, Mike White, like a 7th rounder or something, and he comes in and wins a game.
Dude, Mike White.
I see the storylines already, already.
I just also think I kind of wish to align to my earlier narrative about how the skid starts here for the Jets if they had a different opponent, but you have a banged up Justin Fields coming in, right? What does
he do? He runs. That's his game, right?
Yeah.
He ain't gonna be running with that messed up shoulder, man.
No. You take one more hit, it's the season for you.
He can't win from the pocket. So
no. The Atlanta Falcons at the Washington. They are still and forever will be known to me as the Washington football team. The Washington Commanders. On you.
Give me Heineke. Here's something. I feel like I'm taking Washington, and what's not being really talked about is this defense from Washington, and they've been playing fast. They've been playing on all cylinders. I don't know why no one's bringing it up, and I think they're getting Chase Young back.
They are getting Chase Young back.
Yeah, so give me Washington.
Yeah, I listen, Kyle Pitts. Not that if he's playing, it's a difference maker for me, but it's
just someone you have to account. You have to account.
You know what I mean? Tilts the scales further in Washington's favor. All right, you got the Denver Broncos at the Carolina Panthers.
Can I say tie?
Well, I go first on this. one.
Okay.
I'm gonna take the Carolina Panthers, and I'm taking them because Denver's sliding. 1:00 slot on the East Coast. I don't know, man. Part of me needs to roll the dice anyway. I don't expect you to go. I know Denver's defense is going to probably outmatch Carolina's offense, but I feel like if there's a game in limbo, it could be this one, and I'm going to take the Panthers.
I kind of wanted to take the Panthers too. Let me tell you why, though. For all the reasons why you said, but no Melvin Gordon, not that it meant anything, but no Edmonds as well. So they really have no one to really rely on the rushing attack. And what is Russell Wilson most prime? Is when you have a solid rushing attack for the play action passes, right? They're not going to have, they have Latavius Murray back there, and that's it. And you're talking about Denver's defense. What about Carolina's defense? Carolina's defense, I think, matches up really well against the Denver Broncos offense for the mere fact that Denver Broncos offense is putrid. So I'm going Carolina here for all the reasons you said, and also it's the 1:00 game.
All right.
I'm sorry, man.
No, you're fine. Baltimore at Jacksonville.
Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm just can't pick against the Ravens in this game. So let me confirm that. Baltimore as well. Chargers at the Arizona Cardinals. This would be first. Chargers. I just think I saw what I needed to see, that the offense is getting a little bit back on track. They got important people back. Josh Palmer, go Vols. Keenan Allen. I don't know what Mike Williams' status is. I don't know if he retweaked that very same ankle and that's another 2 or 3 weeks like it should have been in the first place versus rushing back. I saw what I needed to see from Arizona this past week, and it ain't it.
Yeah, but Kyler Murray's coming back. I am going Chargers. That interior of the offensive line. I just feel like the Chargers' weakness on defense is also the Cardinals' weakness on offense.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, they're not. I think they'll match up well from a passing standpoint. The only thing that really causes me concern as a Chargers fan is that mobile quarterback Kyler Murray. But will he be running around so much with that hammy? I mean, you hope that's going to be his last resort to scramble for first downs or what have you, because you don't want to re-aggravate. You hope you want to keep him in the pocket. And the Chargers have faced mobile quarterbacks, and they do a decent job usually.
Yeah. Raiders at Seahawks. This is you first.
I'll go Raiders. There's no rhyme. Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going Raiders too, dude.
There is no rhyme or reason. I just feel like Seattle can come off weird after this bye. Raiders got a win under their belt. Do they figure things out? I don't know. But
I think the Raiders are playing with house money at this point, and I think the Seahawks are no longer playing with house money, right? Because they're no longer sitting with a game or two cushion, first in the division. Like, now the chips are here. Now we got a ball. Not saying that they're capable. I just think the Raiders are a dangerous team because they're literally playing with nothing to lose, right? Yeah. And that makes them dangerous. So you got the Rams at the Chiefs. We know what this one's going.
Yeah.
All right. The Saints at the 49ers. I go first, and I actually will pick the 49ers in this game.
I concur.
All right. Sunday night, you got the Packers at the Eagles. You pick first.
Eagles, but I do think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I'm almost tempted to pick the Packers, but I'm not foolish.
The Eagles haven't looked good the last 2 weeks.
Haven't looked good. And someone like Aaron Rodgers, again, feels dangerous with the back against the wall, right? Like, if Green Bay even wants to sniff competency in the NFC, have to win this football game. Have to win this football game.
Yeah, but I said that last week that's why I picked them to beat the Titans. They were at home on a Thursday night game, short-handed, short week for the Titans to travel to. Titans were banged up from the back end of that defense. Didn't materialize.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles too. And then Monday night, you got the Steelers at the Colts.
Ooh.
I picked this game. I'm going to take the Colts.
Steelers at the Colts.
Steelers at the Colts.
I would like a lot better of the Steelers. Screw it, I'll take the Steelers. Why not?
All right. So those are our two games different. Steelers game, Bengals-Titans game.
I think either of those games are not shooing. Like, I don't know. Like, there's some games that you picked last week. I'm like, really? The Texans? And then forgot the other game, but yeah, those are two games that you can easily win and just get with a handful.
Agreed. We'll see how it goes. All right, Lou, home stretch here. Getting late, and we got Thanksgiving to worry about. You got any fantasy do's and don'ts for me this week?
Okay, only dues from Lou. I got two names for me. Joshua Palmer, and I've never said his name too many times, even when Keenan Allen was hurt. Right, I've never really brought up his name, but the reason why I'm saying Joshua Palmer now, I'm not points chasing. I know what he did against Kansas City, right? But you see what happens when Keenan Allen gets on the field and how he opens it up for everyone else on this team. Palmer does a better job replacing Mike Williams than he does Keenan Allen, right? When Mike Williams was healthy, you had Palmer trying to play the Keenan Allen position. Palmer plays the X position better than the Z. Translation, I think he has another big game because it's more of a natural position. And as long as Keenan Allen plays, he did participate in practice today, full practice. I think Palmer has another decent game. I'm talking about 70 yards and a tutty.
Yeah, listen. And again, for football fans, true translation X versus Z. X usually plays to the side away from the tight end. Z usually accompanies the tight end. So off the ball versus on the ball. It is a totally different approach. It's totally different philosophy. I agree with you wholeheartedly that Joshua Palmer is better slated for the Mike Williams role than he is the Keenan Allen role.
Yep.
For me, and we talked about this gentleman a little earlier, but Latavius Murray. So no more Melvin Gordon. Chase Edmonds out. The passing game is in disarray in Denver. I expect this to be a competitive game. And for me, this isn't point chasing by definition, but it's volume chase, right? Like one game in town, got to run the ball, 20 carries, give me that guy all day long. And the truth was he was stealing carries from Melvin Gordon before this even happened. And now there's no – I mean, listen, they'll have a second and third running back on the roster that will take carries away from Latavius Murray, but he's going to get 20 touches this game. Hard to not have that guy in your lineup.
Yeah. I have another running back. We alluded to before when you picked the Bengals over the Titans that Mixon is in concussion protocol still as of today. Concussion protocol to me doesn't look good, especially that Cincinnati has to go to Tennessee, so that means he'd have to be cleared on Saturday to travel with the team. They don't get that extra day because if it was at Cincinnati, he could be cleared the day of, right? So fire up Samaje Perine. He did pretty damn good. He scored 30 points last game, and I expect another big day, especially when Jamar Chase maybe is taking away some of that attention away from him. So I expect him to get like 12 points and a half point per PPR.
Yeah, agreed. He did fantastic last week, and it was a lot of receiving. It wasn't even really touting the rock. I'm staying in running back land, and I'm saying Jeff Wilson. I mean, he is the number one back in Miami right now. He has removed Raheem Mostert from that slot. Mostert becomes the change of pace guy. They are a finesse team, as you alluded to earlier. Highly favorable matchup against the Houston Texans this week. As I mentioned, he's stealing those carries from Mostert anyway. He's really enjoying his reunion with Mike McDaniel as his play caller. And Lou can check me on this because I play Lou this week in a fantasy league that Jeff Wilson is on that roster. You could bet your bottom dollar he's already in the starting lineup for this week.
Congratulations. You're beating up on a puppy right now. I got one more. I also said, I alluded to this before, but the reason why I picked Washington over Atlanta is because of the defense. Look at what they've done the last 2 weeks, that defense, and they're only getting stronger and they're playing faster. They scored 15 points against Philly. They scored 19 points against Houston. They play Atlanta at home, by the way. So I really feel like no Pitts. Atlanta likes to run the ball. Washington can stop the run. Where does that leave you? Third and longs, a lot of sacks, a lot of turnovers.
Yeah. I have two more. I'm only going to go with one. They're both wide receivers. Treylon Burks. And this is a hunch play And the hunch play here, roll the dice, is most of you probably have just had him hanging around right now on your roster, sitting on IR for a little while. Now he's occupying a roster spot. Had a pretty good game last week. I think he does face a good defense in Cincinnati, but I'm pegging them to focus heavily on stopping the run with Henry and Hilliard. So I do think the opportunities will be there, whether it's in garbage time or just big time 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8s where they need to move the ball. And there's really nobody else in this offense to go to right now. And Tannehill had a good game last week, and Treylon was a huge portion of that. So I think upside, if you got some injury woes, you're tight on the roster, maybe in a flex spot, you slide Treylon in there.
Okay.
All right. Lou, that wraps us up for our Week 11 coverage as we in our foreshadowing of Week 12 to the fans. Obviously, super happy Thanksgiving. Hope you get to spend it all with friends, family. Enjoy the extended time off. But before we part ways, where can they find us, Lou?
On Instagram and Twitter at WTF Pod NFL. And Weston, tell them what they need to do on our YouTube page, man.
You need to follow us on YouTube. We're talking football. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, tell your friends, do what you can for us. Let's grow this out. Lou and I don't get paid to allocate this time, but I promise you we bring better and stronger commentary than those individuals that you do watch on ESPN and Fox Sports and do all of those things. This is real banter by real fans. It's worth a moment of your time, I promise you. So spread the word for us, and we greatly appreciate it. But
if not, listen, guys, you can still follow us and just bash us. Like we're equal opportunists. We love the love, we love the hate.
Lou bashes me every other week intensely, where he sets me up for a question and then says, "Let me tell you why you're wrong," and set me up for the question. So we love it. We prefer it, to be honest, right? We like a little confrontation. But again, to everybody. And to yourself, Lou, and to the family, happy Thanksgiving, and we'll be back next week.